Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told how to voice the radio, and it's very early in the morning, and I'm going to be honest with you, I was expecting quite a lazy day today. I was thinking it was going to be nice and easy, and I was going to spend pretty much all afternoon watching telly and sorting my cards, and then Pokemon revealed the Union. Yeah, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. So, this is how excited I sound, even though I've barely woken up. That, I think, is pretty gosh darned impressive. V-Union is here. V-Union is real. Let's take a gander. We're going to use Zacian as an example in this video. The others will be following shortly. All translations from the lovely Antoine Boulet. And when I say all, I mean all. Because there are several things you should notice about this Zacian straight off the bat. Firstly, it is 4 cards in one. Yep. Remember back in the Heart Gold Soul Silver era where we had Legends? And Legends were 2 cards. Let's take Kyogre and Groudon Legend. They were 2 cards and you had to play both of them at the same time. You had to have both halves in your hand. You had to play them down at the same time. And then you would have a very powerful Pokemon that gave up 2 prizes. Well, this is like that, but supercharged. So we'll get on to Zacian properly in a moment, but let's take a look at the rulings and exactly how they work before we go any further. First and most important thing, how do you play them? You must have all 4 parts in your discard pile at the same time. When you have all 4 parts in your discard pile at the same time, you can play the V-Union Pokemon from your discard pile onto your bench. Now, another very important ruling, and this is a very important ruling, all 4 parts share the same name. So, Zacian v Union, all 4 parts are called Zacian v Union. That means, and remember there is a limit in your deck that you can only play 4 cards with any particular name. Which means if you play a top left, top right, bottom left, and bottom right, which is what we're going to call them for the time being, that means that you are playing 4 copies of Zacian v Union into your deck. That means you cannot play any spares. And at this point, some of you are probably thinking, well, hang on a second, Wassy. What if one of your 4 parts is prized? Yes. Yeah, you can't play the card. These are super powerful cards, but they're super awkward. They have to be super awkward. That's really important. Otherwise, they would be far too good. So you've got to get all 4 parts in the discard, and you've got to hope that none of them are prized. As soon as you get all 4 parts in the discard, you can then play all 4 parts onto the bench, and off you go. In the expanded format, these are going to be a billion times better because of Battle Compressor. Battle Compressor lets you search your deck for free cards and discard them. Clearly, in expanded with Battle Compressor, these are going to be so much better. We have had a new supporter card revealed, which we're not going to be able to get to for the next couple of days, if I'm honest with you. Things have gone a little bit nuts. But Professor Burnett lets you search for 2 cards and discard them. Or up to 2 cards. So basically it's Battle Compressor, but it's a supporter and it's 2 cards rather than 3. It is not, shall we say, even close to being the same. Though it will obviously help with these V-Union Pokemon. So that's how you get them into play. A couple of other things we need to note that are extremely important. They give up free prizes when KO'd, so they are in line with VMAX Pokemon. They have many attacks and abilities, far more than we've seen before. We used to say that 3 was good. Zacian's got 4, and honestly, Zacian's a bit of a loser in the V-Union world for only having 4 attacks. Loser. And they are neither basic nor evolution Pokemon. Now, this is extremely important for a number of reasons. Firstly, makes them really hard to search. Because they're not basic, they cannot be grabbed with Quick Ball. Because they are not evolution, they cannot be grabbed with evolution incense. Pokemon communication, before it rotates out, will get you one of the corners, but it won't get you all of them. It will literally just get you one of the corners. Yes, I am using the Heart Gold Soul Silver era communication as a little bit of a nod to Legend Pokemon, and I'm not even sorry. But that was the ruling back with Legend Pokemon, that you could get one part of it with that. Similarly, something like Great Ball would be able to get you one of the 4 parts of the card. but they have made it very difficult to actually search these out because our main search cards here just don't work. It also means that anything we see, any Pokemon that stops basic Pokemon attacking, will not stop these attacking. A Pokemon like Absol that increases the retreat cost of basic Pokemon will not actually increase your retreat cost. So the fact they are neither basic nor evolution is a very, very big deal. Now, the last part, I believe the last thing we need to know for the time being, you can only play one of each V-Union Pokemon per battle. That means that you play Zacian from your discard pile, it gets KO'd, you give up 3 prizes, you cannot then on your next turn just go, oh, all 4 parts are in a discard, play it again, Sam. That would be too good. Because let's say you're down to 1 prize remaining. If you've got 1 prize remaining until you lose, your opponent needs to take 1 more prize to win the game. And then you can, for instance, play a V-Union Pokemon from your discard pile that's already been KO'd, and then scoop up that just a single prize Pokemon on the field. That's going to be super annoying. Incidentally, one of my favourite uses for V-Union Pokemon is just to leave them for the end of the game. Try and set it up so you end up with, say, 1 single prize Pokemon in play, and then, because you don't need to search these out, as soon as they're in the discard, you can play them. So I love the idea of, you know what, I'm playing a metal deck. So what I'm going to do is basically have all of my metal energy stashed on a Bronzong, and then when my opponent, or at least some of it, and then when my opponent takes a KO and goes down to 1 prize remaining, I just play Zacian from the discard, use Bronzong to move all the energy over, scoop up that Bronzong, and then I'm basically sat there with a Zacian V-Union in play and nothing else, and my opponent's got to go through it in order to take their final 1 prize to win the game. So, let's recap very, very quickly here then. You play it from your discard when all 4 parts are in a discard. They give up 3 prizes when KO'd. They are neither basic nor evolution. You can only play 1 of each per game. Yes, you can play 1 of each, but only 1 of each. And all 4 parts share the same name, so gutted if 1 of the 4 parts is prized. That is what you need to know about V-Union Pokemon, but we can't just talk about that and not give you an example, so may I present to you Zacian V-Union. Now, straight off the bat, it gives up 3 prizes, it's got 320 HP, it is analogous to a Pokemon VMAX. They give up 3 prizes, and 320 is about the standard HP. You've got a retreat cost of 2, which means you get free retreat with Air Balloon, which isn't too bad. The resistance to grass we would expect from a metal Pokemon, and the weakness to fire we would expect from a metal Pokemon. Although because you are a Pokemon V-Union, I imagine that does count as a Pokemon V. It's got the same V there. I don't believe that's been confirmed. I'll have an ask around, see what I can find out. But I think it's fairly clear that Pokemon V-Union is Pokemon V in the same way that V-Max is Pokemon V. And that means a Victini V-Max will be a phenomenal counter to Zacian V-Union. Okay, fine, it won't get a 1-hit KO, but it still does a lot of damage, gosh darn it. And that sounds pretty good to me. Now, you are a metal Pokemon, so usual rules apply. You're not hitting much for weakness, but I mentioned Bronzong earlier, being able to move energy around, that's pretty big. Don't forget we got Metal Saucer to accelerate energy. Both of them are going to survive the rotation. So that's pretty awesome, quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen. It's got all the advantages to make it good. Also, we need to stop before we get to the attacks quickly. There is absolutely no word whatsoever on how these are being distributed outside of Japan. Inside Japan, you just buy them. You buy products which give you all 4 parts of the V-Union and some booster packs. Outside of Japan, we have literally no idea. Maybe you'll buy them as 4-part promos, just like in Japan, or maybe they will be in sets. If they are in sets, we're going to be back to where we were with Legend Pokemon, whereby you're going to buy a box, and you're going to get 1 to 3 parts of a particular V-Union Pokemon, not be able to complete it, and be a little bit sad. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but if they do come in boxes, as in booster boxes and just packs, I'm going to be collecting them. The art is absolutely over the top beautiful. So Zacian then, what does it do? Well, it's got Union Gain, which is a standard attack we see on all the V-Union. 1 colourless energy. Attach up to 2 metal energy from your discard pile to this Pokemon. Obviously, other V-Union, it isn't metal energy. That should be pretty obvious. And essentially here, we don't want to use this attack. This is not a good attack. It's a free prize V-Union Pokemon. We do not want to leave our free prize V-Union Pokemon in the active to take a hit after accelerating energy. That is very much not what we want to do. This is an emergency, I don't have a better way of getting the energy on there attack. But we've got Metal Sorcerer and Bronzong. You should have better ways of getting the energy on there. Now, for free energy, 2 metal and 1 colourless, you do 150 damage. And during your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon's attacks deal 150 less damage. Which is ridiculous, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely ridiculous. Reducing damage is something we see on a fairly regular basis. This is something that we see on Metal Pokemon like all the time. But it's generally things like Copperaja V, free energy, 90 damage, and during your opponent's next turn, you take 30 less damage from attacks. It's not usually 150 less. If you've got full HP and you use this attack, and bearing in mind with stuff like Bronzong and Metal Saucer, you really should be on full HP when you start attacking with this, then all of a sudden your opponent's got to do 470 damage to get a KO. That is absolutely blatantly ridiculous. Just be happy that this is hitting around about the same time as rotation, we imagine. So Lucario Melmetal can't reduce damage, and Metal Goggles can't reduce damage, and Metal Core Barrier can't reduce damage, because using this with a Metal Core Barrier attached would force your opponent to have to do 540 damage just to get a KO, which is clearly blatantly, absolutely ridiculous. Oh yeah, and that's not it, there's still 2 more attacks. For 2 metal, 1 colourless energy, you do a flat 200. I'm not terribly impressed by this. I think 150 reduced damage by 150 is nuts good. I think flat 200 damage is fine. Not good, fine. 200 damage won't even get most Pokemon V, unfortunately. But now we've got the awkward question with Rusted Sword. Yeah, Rusted Sword, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if I may remind you what Rusted Sword does, it lets you do an extra 30 damage when it is attached to a Zacian V. Now remember, V-Union should count as Pokemon V. I am going to assume not. Because I'm taking it as Zacian V, not a Pokemon whose name contains Zacian V. If Rusted Sword does work, then this attack will do 230 for free energy, which means you can get a one-hit KO on pretty much any Pokemon V, and my opinion on this card changes dramatically. Because this attack at least becomes way better. But we don't know is the honest answer. I feel very confident that Zacian V-Union counts as a Pokemon V, because we know that Pokemon V Max count. I do not feel confident that it counts as Zacian V, because Zacian V-Union is not the same as Zacian V. So starting off, I'm going to be working under the assumption that Rusted Sword doesn't work, because I am thinking that although V-Union is a subcategory of V, I am thinking that Rusted Sword refers specifically to Zacian V, not a Zacian card that is also a Pokemon V. This is not an official ruling. If I get an official ruling, which I assume at some point we will, obviously I will let you know and I will come and give you a little bit of extra context. For now, this attack seems just a little bit weak. I don't think it's particularly good enough. I'm happy to be wrong about this, but when I see I can do 150 and make myself hyper tanky, or I can just do 200 damage, I am going to have to really need extra damage to take a super key KO to use this second attack. Again, with something like Zacian V, I am really trying to set myself up. So it's end of the game, and I just Metal Saucer / Bronzong onto this, get everything else off the field with stuff like Scoop Up Net, and then roll with just this until the end of the game. I want to be as tanky as I possibly can. Oh, wait! There's more. 3 metal, 1 colorless energy, 340 damage. Now, this is not a... Oh, and you discard free energy. We'll get to that in a second. This is not a coincidence, ladies and gentlemen. There is absolutely no way this is a coincidental amount of damage. This is an extremely deliberate amount of damage that has been put here by the Pokemon Company. Because as it stands at the moment, assuming you're not using any other cards to boost your HP, the highest HP we have in the game at the moment is, anyone want to say it with me? 340. Exactly the same amount of damage as you do. What this basically says is, hey, KO any Pokemon in the game right now, might not work in the future, we'll have to wait and see. Okay, that's still phenomenal. This is a one-hit KO on a Pokemon VMAX. We generally, unless we're talking about hitting for weakness or attacks that you have to do a bunch of things to build up, we generally don't see attacks that one-hit KO VMAXs. We just don't. This does. And that's kind of broken. And again, this explains the V-Union rulings. It explains why you got to have all 4 parts in your discard, and if one of them's prize, gutted. It explains why you can only have this card once during your game, even if it hits a discard pile a second time. It explains why they give up free prizes, etc. Because, I mean, 2 of these attacks are largely underwhelming. The accelerating energy to 200 damage, couldn't care less. But 150 reducing damage by 150 next turn, or doing 340, those are ridiculous, absolute crazy top tier attacks. Now, in terms of discarding the free energy, yeah, sure, obviously that's a little bit annoying, but you should be getting a one-hit kill on a VMAX. So, don't care about it. Like, there is a very good chance when you use this attack, you win the game. If you don't, you got to start relying on stuff like Bronzong and Metal Saucer again. We talked about them a bunch throughout the game. But I don't think a lot of the time that's going to be an issue. This should be a game-ending attack. The thing is, I don't know how to score Zacian v Union. I don't know what to do with it. Because on the one hand, 2 of these attacks are absolutely phenomenal, and you got 320 HP, and that's kind of amazing. And on the other hand, you can only play 1 of each 4 corners, and if one of them is prized, you can't play the card. It gives up free prizes, it's kind of expensive, but then again, we got ways around it. So I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm giving it 5 Wassies based on 2 of the attacks, which I do think are absolutely flat out amazing. But please bear in mind that if this does end up being as awkward as it could be to play, then my opinion on it is going to go down somewhat dramatically. Also, that 200 attack, I cannot stress how much of a difference Rusted Sword makes. Because with Rusted Sword, you do 230 and you KO basically every Pokemon V. Without Rusted Sword, you do 200 and you only get the weakest Pokemon V, and that is very, very different. So that's my spiel on Pokemon V Union and everything else and all you need to know and Zacian and all of that. But now I want to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comment section. What do you think about these? Do you think they're amazing? Do you love them? Are you worried? Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.